Hello and welcome to the first of our late night readings for National Young Writers Festival 2020. This reading is called Kill Your Landlord. It's been a bad year for renters. I don't know about all of you, but I've recently moved to a new apartment. It's quite nice. My previous apartment had mushrooms growing out of the ceiling. It's been quite a stressful time. It's really sort of brought to light the relationship that we all have with our landlords and how much their sort of needs and wants are prioritised. And so we thought, after getting a fantastic pitch from the writer and comedian Jack Gow, that we should put together a reading series about people's experiences of rentals. So the fantastic artists that we've gathered here today, Jack Gow, a writer and comedian based in Sydney, whose works appeared in The Moth, ABC News Digital, Radio National, and the Story Club podcast. Ray Cox, a podcaster, games writer, and poet, best known for their work on the podcast Insert Quest Here. She is a self-described continuous confluence of experiences, memories, scars, organic compounds, and microorganisms that have come together in a shared chaotic purpose. Zenobia Frost, a poet from Brisbane and winner of the Val Vallis Prize and Queensland Writers Fellowship, whose work often discusses feminism, pop culture, attachment to place, and home renovation shows. Caitlin Carney, an actor, poet, playwright, and classical soprano based in Sydney, whose work is often comedic and unrelenting take on living with clinical depression and/or how much she loves bees. And finally, Sana Wei, a writer, editor, and medical student, whose work has been published by Black Ink, Peril Magazine, the Stella Prize, and Red Rocket Press. Her work discusses the becoming of queerness, culture, and family. But that's enough out of me. We haven't programmed all these fantastic writers so you could hear me talk about them. We've programmed them so you can hear from them. And so, without further ado, here is our first guest of the evening, Jack Gow.
Hi everyone. I'd just like to start by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, whose land I am broadcasting from today. I pay my respects to elders both past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are tuning in. Okay, now I'm going to start my story. It's 8:04 a.m. on a Friday morning in February 2017. I'm standing in the narrow kitchen of the gun barrel terrace that I'm renting, and I'm staring straight down at the toaster, thinking about death. Or more specifically, my neighbour's death. Or yet more specifically, how I wish my neighbour's death was imminent. You see, I'm living with my girlfriend and I'm spending well over 50% of my income on renting a place that is so thoroughly and inescapably riddled with mould that her doctor says we should move out as soon as possible, lest it aggravate her already quite severe asthma. And we would gladly do that, except that it's the only place that we can even remotely afford, and even then we still had to offer a full $50 a week above the advertised price just to secure it. So essentially, I am deep in rental poverty for the privilege of living in a house that is slowly trying to kill the woman I love. Now look, normally mould would be a manageable problem. You know, we've all lived in share houses that have gone mouldy through neglect, but not so here. While the house is in a rundown kind of way, it was also built in the 1800s and it hasn't been renovated since. So the pipes beneath the house are cracked and leak water throughout continuously, creating a petri dish that has roughly the same dimensions as a single-storey terrace house. Something I later learned that the landlord is not only completely aware of, but also deliberately tries to hide, albeit temporarily, by having the interiors freshly painted each time there is a new tenant. a fleeting facade that lasts about 6 to 9 months before the jaded current tenant decides to move out and a new blissfully ignorant one is installed in this palace of penicillin. Like, no joke, this is how bad the mold problem was. There was a young couple who lived there before us who had a toddler, and they had to move out because their 2-year-old boy got fungal pneumonia. If that's not bad enough, though, anytime there is a storm, the pipes back up and the backyard is flooded with sewage. Because, as I'm not sure if you know, but renting in Sydney is apparently no longer satisfied with just being a Dickensian nightmare and is instead vying for the lesser-known title of Dante's 11th Circle of Hell. What makes it even more depressing, though, is that despite the mini sea of shit water that takes over our backyard every month or so, the only reason I even know about our landlord painting over the mould is because our neighbours, Dan and Dean, tell me. Now, this might make you think that they're good people. However, they keep this little factoid to themselves until a full 4 months after I first mentioned the mould problem. How do I explain Dan and Dean? Well, they named their house Dan Dean, which, if you're a bit slow on the uptake, is just a portmanteau of their two names, making it perhaps the laziest name for a house ever. They even have a plaque on the front of their house with Dan Dean written on it in gold Gothic font, like a little token of their lack of imagination. Dan and Dean are an elderly gay couple that have owned the terrace next door to us since time immemorial, since before we could measure time, since before we even invented the concept of time. There are cave paintings of them putting their bins out that predate the Neanderthals. They are so rusted on that I'm secretly convinced they take turns scraping each other off the walls, Stranger Things style, lest they be absorbed into the very fabric of the home. That, or they're kind of immortal and they emerge from their coffins at daybreak like some kind of bizarro vampires who feast on Howard-era tax concessions instead of blood. In short, they're a fairly miserable bunch who look down on me because they are owners and I am a renter. And I'm not inferring that, by the way. They literally say that to my face one morning after a particularly heated exchange, but more on that later. Dan and Dean run an online rainbow flag store, which means 3 things. 1, they are always home. 2, they are always moaning about the NBN. And 3, it is very hard to dislike them without feeling like I'm not being a community. I mean, it would be hard enough to dislike them if they were just a gay couple, you know, let alone an elderly gay couple, let alone an elderly gay couple that run a rainbow flag store. You know, like their contribution to society is providing the literal symbol of the queer struggle. And I pride myself on being a fairly progressive member of the community, but do you have any idea how hard it is to stay woke when your neighbours are 2 geriatric gay guys that also happen to be awful people? And to make it even harder, it was the year of the same-sex marriage plebiscite. And look, I know that everyone has their struggle in life. And this is mine. So on my first day at this house, before I even finish unpacking, Dan and Dean explained to me how, due to some shared joys, whenever one of us walks down our respective corridor, the footsteps reverberate through the house opposite. This explanation that footsteps make noise takes them, I'm not kidding, 35 minutes. I also do not notice it once over the next 9 months, leading me to believe that they must levitate or glide, or perhaps more accurately crawl, slug-like, from their front door to wherever they write their letters to the Inner West Courier complaining about the lack of on-street parking. They accost me about this daily for 3 months before it reaches a head. One morning, Dan, who's always the aggressor of the two, intercepts me as I'm bringing the bins in. Now, to paint you a picture, Dan looks kind of like Papa Smurf. If Papa Smurf wasn't blue, was human-sized, and had alcoholism-induced rosacea. So he looks like Santa. We start the same old dance about the joists, and yes, while he acknowledges it only really occurs when I get home from work, he has a solution that he is positive will satisfy both parties. So he invites me over, and I trepidatiously enter the inner sanctum. The first thing I notice is that it is very, very dark. Like, I know most terrace houses are dark, but this is disconcertingly so, like some kind of primordial gloom emanating from within, a literal heart of darkness, if you will. The second thing I notice is that the walls are lined with ornate midnight blue floral wallpaper with interwoven golden thread. Kind of imagine the walls of Versailles, but in Sydney, and heap shit. The third thing I notice is a frankly disturbing number of ceramic dolls located on almost every available horizontal surface. So obviously, I immediately regret entering this serial killer's lair. However, Dan leads me through the house unscathed and out to the backyard where I'm accosted by his 2 blue staffies. The dogs are cute, but they both have respiratory problems, so anytime I'm in my backyard, it sounds like I'm being haunted by the twin ghosts of asbestos past. Once the dogs calm down, Dan gestures to a pile of assorted materials covered in dog hair and flecks of saliva that is literally lying in the dirt near the base of their kennel. He explains to me that his solution to the problem of me walking in my own home that I pay to live in is for me to fashion some sort of stepping stone-like path down my corridor using the mismatched offcuts of carpet runner that I'm 99% sure he's been using to line his dog's kennel. I politely decline. Dan is, I shit you not, incredulous that I don't want his dog carpet for my human home. He gets all indignant and accuses me of being ungrateful, presumably for not seeing myself as on par with his dogs. He describes me, in his own words, as a typical, selfish, entitled millennial that wants it all. But he doesn't stop there. He goes on to say, and I quote, "Maybe if you actually owned a house, you'd care about not annoying your neighbours." In an act of almost superhuman restraint, I do not point out the inconsistency between his words and his actions. I toyed with the idea of humouring him and saying, "1,000 pardons, sirrah. A lowly street urchin like myself should have known better. Here I am, nowt but a lowly cur, spurning your charity when I'm reduced to roaming the sewers of an evening just to sort through the rubbish and the kitchen scraps and the human excrement just to put food on the table for me little uns. Forgive me, sire. I should have known not to speak back to me betters and just graciously accepted the crumbs from your dog's table." I toyed with that idea, but in the end, I just told him to fuck off and went and made some toast. Thank you. Up next, we have Ray, who's going to be joining us.
Hi, I'm Ray. I am coming to you from the lands of the Awabakal and Warramai people here in Newcastle. And my pronouns tonight are she, her. I kind of wrote this piece in somewhat of a fury fueled by stories that I have been holding on to from my friends and some family. Yeah. I hope that you enjoy. Tonight, I'm not the solar flare or the confluence of chaos. I'm the water wearing away the rock bed. I'm the hemmed metal of a plow reforged into armor. I'm a wraith, a spectre. I'm you who have watched parents, siblings, and friends suffer. I am all those that struggle to survive in a world where shelter is made a commodity. Force-fed black mold, bled dry by fat ticks, strange metals in the water, creeping, creepy, cruel contamination. My daughter needs a room, so I'm kicking you out. I want to charge more for rent, so I'm moving you on. You can't leave. You signed a lease. Think about how I will pay my mortgage. I can't actually fix that till next week. Well, we're renovating the bathroom, so you'll have no shower for a week or 3. I got you a 5th roommate for this 2-bedroom house. It's always their wants and never our needs. The water heater has failed. It's almost 10 a.m. The answering machine at the end of the line sounds. Our office hours are 9:30 a.m. till 4 p.m. I guess they don't want to hear about the flooding. Roaches everywhere. We've been here a week. Keep our food in sealed containers. Our floors are a crawling living mass. They're eating our bed sheets. Guess I'll add monthly pest control to my budget. Power off. It's been 3 days. You said we had our own circuits. How come their renovations killed the power? Oh, I'm the liar. Perfect. Suffering in hot and cold poverty. A soft whisper in a lonely bed. I want a happy life without capitalism. They hold all the keys and keep all the titles. We had a deal, a bargain, a contract. They broke it, broke us, and broke their own fucking house. Rich pricks trying to get richer. Claims to provide a service. Pretend they're doing you a favor. Take all our money and steal our fucking labor. I think it's about time to sharpen the saber. They turned housing into a game, and now they've finally won a prize. No more rent, no more free labor. It's our house, our home. I am white teeth and red thoughts. I am fangs in their throat. I am death by 1,000 cuts. I am the king of cats to scratch a man to death. I am the specter of homes held hostage, and I'm coming to kill your fucking landlord. Up next is Zenobia Frost.
Hello. I am reflecting on how relatable everything has been tonight. So I'm kind of sitting in the like rental sludge. But I'm here on Yagara and Turrbal land in Meanjin, Brisbane, and I'm going to read you some rental poems from This Boy. My book After the Demolition is pretty much all about how much renting sucks and other stories. So I'm going to read a couple from a suite called Distractions at Rental Inspections. These are rental inspections I went on that were weird. First one is in Toowong in Brisbane. A possum nestles in the crook of the ceiling's busted plasterboard. I shake my attention back to the man who pedals the empty front room, working ceiling fan, carpet with pleasing bath mat grit, natural light, self-steaming, equipped with tilting dresser if you want it, and a front row view of a famous graveyard. I let the texture of his pitch wash over, sneak my eye contact in increments up into the furrow, the sleeping possum, the ceiling's luxury embossing, which, like any real fur, insists, touch me, touch me. That was a very distracting house, and I kind of did want to live there because of the possum hole in the roof. It was just like convenient fur patch, like those little like board books you get when you're a kid that have furry pages. The second house is in Paddington. The ad says, neat as a pin. The house is a hall with its arms pinned to its sides. Dark blue, this hall with the sun ballooning in the yard end. The tenant showing us around is topless. His distended nipples reject the compact space. The living room pressed into the hall's narrow gut, the bedrooms knitted in. This squeeze could be tolerated, like living on a houseboat, but his nipples follow me, eyes bulging from a painting. It was gross, y'all. And this third one is like way more body horror, but the body horror is the house. This is in Maruka, which is actually the suburb I live in now, and I live in like the first nice rental of my life, but this was not it. I literally walked in and they were like, you choose the price. Like, okay, what's this going to be? It was this. It's a break lease. We inch across tidal boards that dip and creak, asthmatic in the damp and dust. We follow the agent past orphan dresses, shelves, a piece of torn shirt. The house smells of wet earth, the bitter spice of deep dug yards. Downstairs, the agent unlocks the chain and with two hands wrenches the sliding door off the bricked-in underhouse, resting it like a ladder against the wall. In the yawning space, a nest of mattresses. The toilet, veiled by a shower curtain, subtle by contrast. We are silent in the doorway. The agent shrugs. I half expect to see a pair of pliers, a few loose teeth, a bucket. It's as is, the agent says, but make an offer. That house has since been demolished. I feel like that is for the best. Poor house. This one's from my ancient history, but the house that I was living in at the time, like in Jack's story, my landlord lived above me and she was renovating and at one stage literally took out her entire floor. So there was nothing, like just this little slither of ceiling. and we heard everything that ever happened. And then they asked if they could like rent one of our spare rooms as an extra. But I didn't have a spare room because I had 2 boyfriends, one of whom was technically an illegal immigrant. And then it was census night. So this is for that. Census night. The feds never gave you much of a look in, just the odd firm email. Hey, nice white boy, you're drawing late fees on borrowed residency. I'm sure if you'd had any other skin, you would have been shown the door. Fuck off, we're full. On census night, there were 3 of us, but we only counted as 2. Me, my boyfriend, and my other boyfriend, othered enough, invisible in his default skin. I filled us into the gaps of the form, penciled us in. An equilateral triangle spread tripartite across 2 census forms, like folding a sheet of paper into an envelope. I didn't want to wield some kind of census-based favoritism. I made us census night cocktails, put on hors d'oeuvres from Coles, tried to construct one Transformer-esque mega boyfriend the way I often did with strangers. Yes, my live-in partner who is clean-shaven with a beard, the American from Bowen, the softly spoken one who repairs fountain pens and takes photographs, telling the neighbors, no, we each have separate rooms. No, sorry, your relatives can't Airbnb our spare. And that time you both counted, but it's all cheese looking back, an obtuse wedge of brie. Just gonna toss one more your way because it's fun. And that is a luxury not afforded to renters is, of course, renovating. And my partner and I love watching renovation shows, especially incredibly sickeningly wholesome ones like Fixer Upper. So this one is for Chip and Joe of Fixer Upper. It's called Demo Day. Joe Gaines walks right into me and takes stock. Good bones, y'all. I love this one. So much potential. Knuckle through a wall or 2 and fill me up with light. Hem back the big trees, snagging eaves. Polish till you slide right off the slick of my boards. Chip out all my organs and reset. Pull back my ceiling and truss me fresh with letter molding. A nest of bees released in a wall. The knowest house on Yes Street. We need the owner's original to do this right, to fold the thumb in and open the kitchen right up with a pop. May as well rebrand your favorite primetime flippin' show as Fister Upper. You're welcome. Chip is somewhere else making a joke into the hollow of another episode. The revolution is caramelized in Joanna's domestic vision. Let's play house. She leans in to lick up her handiwork. A bond cleaner, the deepest, just before she leaves. Furrows to hang a final pendant light from my cervix. Give me Carrera. If it feels too full, let's go low on clutter. Are you ready to see your instant equity? Curves in all the right places. My muscles close around and vanish her work. Any good renovation is invisible. Thanks so much for having me, NYWF, and I'm going to pass this over to Caitlin. Thanks, guys.
Yay! Thanks, Zenobia. Hello, it's me. I'm absolutely full of beans. I am coming to you from Eora country today, and I'm going to read you something that I've written that is set in Dharawal country. This poem was a fetus of a thing when I woke up this morning, and now it's a Lovecraftian monster. It's probably the stupidest thing I've ever written, and I hope you enjoy it. It's something that happened when I was 19, and it's all true. And I've just called it The Names Have Been Changed. 'Twas 2013. And I, a travel-weary student, opted to can the commutin' Uniacom, Wollongong, second year. I wished the goon upon my very doorstep, understand? I was a fan, having heard tell of the bright young thing who stapled his foreskin to a pool table on a night of making much merry. I desired to pop my house share cherry and go live amongst my people. I do not come before you now to expound a case, unless it were for never once departing the safety of one's family home base. No, and I won't compare my choice to naively leaving the Shire for Mordor. That's for you to decide. You be judge and jury, I've nothing to hide. But it's like when you hear 9 compliments and then you hear one not, and the one that's a not keeps you up at wee hours while your tolerance rapidly sours, wide open his door, 4 a.m. anime screening, screaming, I want more, whatever that meant. I'm getting ahead of myself though. With the cadence of a blowfish, Gladys leached into my life. There he was, +4, the compliments. I was not alone by any stretch in the strife. Here was helipad, brave politics, sweet Lady B, and Deutschland, not my best work, that last one. Experienced hands. I alone was new and green. Didn't want to show my ass and let them think I was too mean to banter when he'd come sidling in and just begin. My bedroom door might be ajar, not questing for a chat though. I uber quickly figured out that I should rethink that though when I realised that his freshest take was all the dough I couldn't make with an acting degree. 3, the amount of times a mining engineer can fail maths. Twice thus far had he done that. To my heart, I took the tip from Lady B to keep your door locked, darling. She was very good to me. He called me Kathleen after countless correction, but to feel seen by him anyway, whatever. The vacuum cleaner scorched him if he touched it, I assume. Ditto dish soap, mop and bucket, Windex, bleach, the humble broom. For he distanced much from all tools used to make communal rooms feel less like shit, so yeah, that must have been it. But he did donate paint spatter to our nicely kept veranda where he held all things Warhammer. A regular Pollock. Good evening, he'd routinely say, at really any time of day. Gladys, it is not. The 4 walls of my fragile sanity began to steadily rot. Every happy hour was morning, every noontime turned to night. With the grammar of a gas leak, did he do it to unseat me? Did he say it out of spite? Morning. And when he did get it right, it was from deep within the bushes, lining the way to class, keeping him out of sight. It's a no from me, darling. With his chosen field of study, he was keen to blow shit up. And he loved to watch explosion vids, but actually go to lectures? No. One fateful night, my invite to witness such a thing could no longer be ignored. I didn't wish to seem discourteous, though his eyes were wild and murderous when I tread the boards, despairing to his dank and crusty lair in frightening fervour, he would confide, there's a rue in this one, and he doesn't survive. Okay, sunshine, I'm going to bed. To see visions of chunks of our national animal ricochet off the inside of my head. Help! What a piece of work is man who calls frozen pizza health food. No, not in a playful way. Every other day was party pie day, so he was just breaking it up, man. Rabbit food, sometimes necessary. I'm supposed to kill my landlords, but I'm not sure that was their fault. And the Hogan's Heroes marathons weren't reason enough to revolt. They were just fucking weird. As to the earlier mentioned super late night anime, neither Daft Punk nor Alt J could quite block out the high-pitched, cracked, depraved cackles and the possummed growled tooty. I don't know if they have hackles, but for the sake of the rhyme, I will say that they would have been raised. Now, TSE would have us believe that April is the cruelest, to which I must say, nay, May. My big debut, thank you. I play St. Joan, the household comes to witness. Very sweet, extremely thoughtful. Oh, no, sorry, I meant awful. Just the way that at the height of tension, our toughest scene, I have to mention that he fell the fuck asleep and rumbled like a monster truck, flat-tired through Joan's most anguished speech. That's the way we show respect to Ireland's favourite playwright, rolling in his grave that night. We all returned from winter break to catch a crisp new horror. Deutschland, old pal, what could that stench be? But she had no more clues than me. Till we opened the room with the freezer to see a big box of bad fare unplugged for 2 weeks. I do not remember why he did it. I do remember this. Gladdy bud, not being rude, but could you just acknowledge that I've lost $100 worth of food? A miracle. A soft hiss. Oh, mea culpa. I should not have done this. Buckley's. His real response was bizarrely short of rage. All right, Kathleen, might I recommend you save your drama for the stage? Okay. Sorry, bud. I should have realised. That was like if I'd implied that you did 9/11. Don't mind me saying, when you get to heaven, St. Peter will turn you away from the gate if you happen to detail the full sum of our food you've only gone and bloody ate, old mate. Never mind spoiled. And in Mudgee, Gladrags, in Mudgee, is this par for the course. In yours, the land of bee syrup, can you spoof in a communal shower and leave it with no squirt of remorse like the come and come again puddin' you demonstrably are? Are you going to foot the bill to cover up that mental scar, you grub? I'm not being glib, hey. The cut of your jib makes me feel like I'm inside a night terror forever and ever. Amen. Swivel on it, punk. Well, what I actually said was, okay. The household, swollen with disgust, did gather shortly after, starting small. Gladders, we have noticed that you do not wash your hands at all. What say you? Oh, politics, you noble thing. I'm not sure we deserve you. I sanitize within my private chambers, Polly, so checkmate. There ended Hygiene Gate. So we backslid to the vile hand we had been dealt. Yet I thought, in the rather battered palace of my mind, nice try, Gladiolus, but this isn't 2020, my fine fiend. This is 2013. Quite far in, but I'm still Kathleen. Anachronistic, but you know what I mean. By November time, I had become Kathleen. Had still never been mean of spirit, just gone numb, but I'd almost done my time. On a Wednesday night, you'd think I might like to get on the cheeky wines, but I was tired. And I had a room with a perfect view of the hill down which the drunks would spill as they wobbled cavalierly home. Gladness didn't do clubs, but he'd punish a kebab. I mean, he's human, if I had to take a stab. That night, a ray of heaven's light, though it must have been dark when Karma tripped his ass right at the top of the slope. And I too had been gagging for a bab. There but for the grace of God went I, oh, frabjous day. It never rains, but it soars, a Donner affair, with the lot, in the arms of the angel I've never forgotten, weeping with mirth in a cup of strong tea. Australian afternoon, you know, that's the blend for me. Tabbouleh and garlic sauce, onions and cheese, how he rolled, how he bounced like Cthulhu on the moon. I was so caught up in glee, I was hooting like a loon, and the joy of all my comrades, it was palpable. Him glaring in at us, whom he somehow thought culpable, glory be, he was goddamn ropeable. Morning, hailed Helipad, with a shit-eating grin, much to big boys' obvious chagrin. Deutschland, Lady Helipad, politics and me, we're forever bound together, though we've long since broken free. The ghost of Gladrat past did not go gently into night. It's tittered unremittingly right through the years since gone by. Soon there came the shack of many windows, most internal, the chance to be viewed, nude, in your bedroom from the kitchen. Yes, the word is infernal. Anxiety, eternal. Later, of London side note, was the geezer casting daily votes for Naked Sundays. Only let me count the ways in which I had to say, not with you, blood, but take your broken heart and make it into art. Carrie Fisher, I know what you mean. I've struggled to match the sheer volume of verse I put down in old 2013. Thank you very much. Let's go on now to Son Away.
Thank you, Caitlin. That was really powerful. I'm joining from the land of the Ngunnawal people, and I want to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and future. I think there will be a bit of a change of tone with my reading. I wrote this piece at a time towards the end of last year where I was looking for a new place to live, which often happens because I'm often moving around for my hospital placements. But what I really wanted to focus in this piece was about finding a sense of home, not in any one place, but in the in-between and in queer friendship. So I hope you enjoy. The piece is called Home, Dream of Roe. Near the end of the year, I had a dream of Roe. They were helping me move house, but the dream was not about the old place or the new, but living together in this liminal space. Sometimes a caravan, sometimes a house. It existed in that way where dreams don't have to specify, and in-betweens are whole things of themselves. In a similar way, this dream was both viscerally vivid and imprecise. Moments were linked in time but not space. Some senses were substituted for another. But through it all, there was warmth. I remember we went to the market and there were aunties and grandmas and choice salmon morning sun, the crunch of caramel peanuts, the experience of our laughter not as a sound, nor as a noticeable absence of sound, but as a feeling. Back home, we cooked together, discovering domesticity in the details. I remember one moment zoomed in on the ends of our phone chargers, head to head, discovering they were different. And another moment which I wrote down but I've now forgotten, we were figuring out what music to listen to. But mostly, I remember the touch of a hand and the shifting of bodies in tight space, navigating around each other as we swapped places in the kitchen. One day, I went out to see a new place, looking for a home. I had in my head a list of all the things I was looking for. I was shown around a poorly lit room, a common area kept spartanly clean. Then the head of the share house started lecturing me threateningly on the rules of communal rice use. What should have struck me was the sticky feeling of mercenary transaction, of a lack of trust in anxious rules. But I kept on convincing myself things were okay, the house was okay, the people were okay. In that way, one gets lost in the negotiating, the weighing and maximization. But then, in the middle of that lecture, my phone rang and it was Ro calling me back. And I was flooded with relief. Colour returned to the dream world as I returned home to Ro. And the warmth of our laughter, the crunch of the peanuts, our bodies in the kitchen, reminded me of everything a home should be. Home in the in-between, home that sustains you, home to return to. And then I woke up. But instead of being sad, I was glad. Glad that this feeling endured beyond my dream. There was no caravan house. There was no time when I actually lived with Ro. But much like a caravan that transitions to a house and back again, home was something that could go with me anywhere, set down a stable and strong foundation where I needed, and give me a haven to return to. In the morning after the dream, I called Ro to tell them how much they mean to me. Over the sounds of them making breakfast in their kitchen, the click of a spoon, the chew of fried rice, I heard their voice as another presence in between. And I knew that, in those moments between transition and space, dreaming and waking, nourishment is found. And that concludes my reading.
Thank you so much to that incredible group of writers, Jack, Ray, Zenobia, Caitlin, and Sana. It's an incredible privilege to have hosted you today with the National Young Writers Festival from here on Gadigal land. I really hope you've all enjoyed this evening, and I hope the audience has had a good time. And please tune in again tomorrow for the second day of National Young Writers Festival. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.